London, 1888. The city was shrouded in fog, its narrow streets crowded, its East End overflowing with poverty and desperation. Whitechapel, in particular, was infamous, a place of overcrowded lodging houses, harsh working conditions, and women forced into the streets simply to survive. In this bleak world, a murderer emerged, a man whose crimes would terrify the capital, dominate the headlines, and remain unsolved for over a century. History remembers him by the name he gave himself, Jack the Ripper. The first murder. On the 31st of August, 1888, the body of Mary Ann Nichols was discovered in Bucks Row, Whitechapel. Her throat had been cut and her body bore brutal injuries. At first, the police thought it might be another act of violence in a dangerous part of town, but soon it became clear. This was no ordinary killing. The murders continue. Only days later, on the 8th of September, Annie Chapman was found dead. This time, the attack was far more vicious. Her body had been mutilated in a way that suggested knowledge of anatomy. Now there was no doubt. London faced a serial killer. Then came the night of the 30th of September, known as the double event. 2 women were murdered within the space of an hour. Elizabeth Stride was killed quickly, almost as though the murderer had been interrupted. But the second victim, Catherine Eddowes, was brutally mutilated. The terror in Whitechapel reached new heights. The most horrific killing. On the 9th of November, 1888, the body of Mary Jane Kelly was discovered in her small room in Miller's Court. The scene was so horrific that even hardened detectives were shaken. It was the most savage killing of them all, and it marked the last of the Ripper's known victims. A city in panic. The press seized on the story. Newspapers sold in their thousands as the public followed every detail. Theories flourished. Was the killer a surgeon, a butcher, an immigrant? Police officers from Scotland Yard scoured the East End, but the Ripper always seemed one step ahead. Letters from the killer. Adding to the fear, letters began arriving at police stations and newspaper offices. One was signed Jack the Ripper, the first time the world saw the name. Another, known as the From Hell letter, came with half a human kidney. Genuine or hoax, the letters fueled the hysteria. Suspects and theories. Over the years, countless suspects have been named. Montague John Druitt, a barrister who took his own life shortly after the murders. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant living in Whitechapel. Michael Ostrog, a known criminal. Even rumors involving members of the royal family surfaced, though most historians dismiss them. But no evidence has ever been conclusive. The Ripper's true identity remains a mystery. The legacy of Jack the Ripper. The murders lasted just a few months, yet their impact has never faded. Jack the Ripper changed the way crime was reported, the way the police investigated, and the way the public thought about safety in their own streets. Today, Whitechapel is filled with tours retracing his steps. Books, films, and documentaries still try to solve the mystery. But perhaps that's part of the fascination, the fact that the case was never closed and the killer was never caught. Conclusion. Jack the Ripper wasn't just a murderer. He became a symbol of fear, of the darkness lurking in the heart of Victorian London. His crimes remind us that some mysteries will never be solved, and some killers take their secrets with them forever.